there's so many people speaking about this now. You know, I'm not gonna lie. My feed, my algorithms, my algos consist of a few people most of the time. One being Penguinzo, Charlie, Moist Critical. He's got a lot of names. Asmongold is on there a lot because the topics that fill my feed are the ones that they talk about, which are movies. That's more penguins. Politics. What's going on in the world? Right now, it's the Epstein files. I used to think like this whole. I talk to certain people, and they always like not always, but it seems every time I see them, which is rare, something is going on with the files at that time. They've been off and on for how many years now? And what I have realized most recently is like every time I come on here and I don't even know why I do these anymore. Come on here and I make a video about this shit. I end up shooting myself in the foot because I'll see something the next day or hear something that just makes me backtrack and lose all hope. It just does because there's always somebody out there with a take more. What's the word I'm looking for? They just have a more informed take than I do, and I realize how little I actually know about what's going on, and then I'm reset, and now I'm back to ground zero on the point. This whole Epstein thing, like I thought for some reason it was, I never took that much interest in it, if I'm being honest. And I think now I'm realizing the reason I never took all that much interest in it is because it's not ever going to get, like, nobody's going to go to jail for this. Nobody's going to jail because the entire top percent of the world involved in this shit is all involved in the same web. In some which way, they are all directly or indirectly involved with what went on. Epstein is gone. He is dead. Everybody pretty much knows what happened to him. Okay? It's no secret. And now you have millions of pages that just came out. Millions with an M. It's going to take forever to sort through that. You're going to find shit that's contradicting. You're going to find names in there that you never expected to see. And guess what? No one's going to go to jail. You know why? Every time we've had an event like this in our history, who's gone to jail? Nobody. They always get bailed out or it gets covered up. It's all a fugazi, illusion. We saw what happened in 2008. Have you ever seen The Big Short? What, one person went to jail? Maybe a couple? Nobody who really deserved to go went. They got bailed out. So I ask you, what's the point in worrying about these files? Because Charlie, as much as I love him, he's sitting there, yelling about like, hey, why is nothing being done? This needs to be, why is it being pushed under the rug? Why is it? It should be obvious at this point. They're not going to do anything. Nobody is going to jail. Nobody is going to get in trouble for this. Period. There is nothing we can do. Somebody made this beautiful point the other day on one of the podcasts I was listening to. If you heard the podcast or watched it or heard the clip, you'll know who it is. Not going to name it. They said it's hilarious that all these people, and this was one of the most humbling things I've ever heard because I am one of these people that did this. You have all these people, these stupid people, is what he said, I think, who sit around and they laugh at the government and call them stupid. They laugh at the people in charge and call them stupid. They laugh at the politicians and call them stupid. Look at these idiots in Congress. And then he laid it all out. Those same people, me, they pay taxes. They send 30% of their income to the government every year. They abide by their laws and their rules and their regulation. Even after they own their home, they pay property taxes because they don't actually own that shit. Right? Every time they buy something, they pay tax. And then they watch the government take their money and spend it on bullshit. Like what happened with these places in Minnesota, right? The fake daycares. They watch Congress blow their money. They watch Congress put that money in their own pockets. They watch Congress go buy boats. Have an island where they can all go and have fun at their weird, freaky parties. Take private jets there. with your tax dollars. We all know it's happening. We all watch it happen. And yet we call them stupid. We let them fuck us. And what he said was, that guy that you're calling stupid runs your life. He runs your life. He's not wrong. He does. That guy runs. I was so humbled. I had to pause that. I was in the middle of doing dishes. I had to pause it with my wet hands and just take a second to realize how fucking stupid I was, how ignorant I was. Every year, we laugh and we blame them for this and we blame them for that, and we call them idiots, and they run our lives. Yeah, pretty tough reality to face. And like, it's like we all knew underlying. You just need the right person to say it to you in the right way for it to really click. And it sucks because I looked at the future with some hope, but the truth is nobody from these files will go to jail. Nobody is going to go to jail. They are all interlocked in this web. When you have that much power and that much influence and you're all involved together, you look the other way. You let shit slide. You make one phone call, right? Or they'll all gang up on the one person who they think might be trying to flip sides, and they'll be the scapegoat, and they'll pin everything on them, and they'll go to jail. Is likely what would happen. The stuff in these files is terrifying, and it's disgusting. Just from, I'm not going through them myself. You know, I'm not somebody who's on Twitter, so I don't get any of the information that's out there on Twitter. I should probably get on there. I should probably get on X, because it's the only platform that's left where people speak the truth. You know, that's another small thing, how ignorant people are. That so there are still some people who I've seen in the comments on my videos say, the second they heard me talk about Elon in a good way, they like checked out, they clicked off, they were done. Like, oh yeah, I liked the video until you mentioned Elon. Everybody seems to be against this guy for being a super genius and having all the wealth. This is the only dude who has made moves for the American people in our present time. And he's not the only one. Trump wants what's best for America. I think it's pretty obvious. Okay, he's trying to undo all the bullshit that happened before. Here's the problem. Corruption is everywhere. Every individual, yourself included, you self-righteous fucks that think that you're perfect, you're all full of corruption. It is human nature. By definition, as a human, you are corrupt. It is a question of whether you will act on your own corruption. And many of these people have, many of them haven't. Many of them have picked moments to do so, whether it's against their will or not, whether it's beneficial for them or not. We have all done corrupt things. The question is, do you continue to act on them? Do you learn from it and go, I probably shouldn't do that? Do you have parents in your life who teach you that corruption is bad and you shouldn't act upon those things? My parents were very, very good about instilling decent morals in us. I most certainly was not a perfect kid. But I can tell you what, I never stole. Not that I can remember. I might have done it one time just to see what it felt like, what the thrill of it was. I can tell you, I don't remember an actual instance when I've ever stolen anything. That what, like from a store or like food or something like that. Yeah, maybe like I snuck something from somebody's lunch at school like I snuck a fry, right? That's technically considered stealing. But there are certain things that our parents teach us or the people around us teach us that are just wrong, that you just don't do. And you have to understand that there are good sides to human nature as well, but everybody has that corruption in them. And it's why people tell you not to do things, because inevitably, if you're not told to do certain things and that corruption makes its way to the surface, unless you've heard before that you shouldn't do this thing, you will likely act on it. You will likely act on it because that is just inside of you. And when it bubbles to the surface, if nobody has told you that that's wrong, you will do it. And you will feel no consequence. And most of these people probably grew up in households where they were taught not to do corrupt shit. But when you become rich and powerful and you get to the top and there are no rules that really apply to you, where you make the rules and the laws and you can bend them at your will, and you have all this money to do so, no consequence, What do you think these people will do? Why is anyone surprised that this shit took place? It's like you're not surprised by the catch a predator video, right? You're not surprised but when they go catch that guy in Target, that broke fucking cave dwelling weirdo at Target who's there to meet a 13-year-old. You're not surprised by that. But because you see his face and you go, oh yeah, that dude's a weirdo. But you're surprised that all these rich people with all this influence, with all this money, all this power, that no rules or laws apply to them, you're surprised that they took your tax dollars, flew private jets to a private island, probably paid for by your tax dollars, where they could meet with extremely young girls and guys and have the time of their life in their old age and enjoy all of the wealth and everything that they have and act on all these horrible, what's the word? How did I just, your mind ever just blank on words? They act on all these horrible, corrupt things inside of them, and there's no consequences there. They're all in the same web. They're all tied together at that point. They all have dirt on each other, so everybody there will look the other way. So why wouldn't they do that if that's what they want to do? Granted, you're going to have people who would never do that. I like to think that I would never do something like that, ever. But you also have to understand that the people that make it to the top like that are driven through this kind of nature. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And a lot of the ones who get up there and they are good and they don't want to be a part of that shit, unwillingly end up a part of that shit. And what happens when you end up there and everybody around you is doing this shit, and now you've seen that everyone's seen you there. Let's just imagine you're one of the most innocent rich people, and one of your good friends who you think is a good friend of yours says, dude, we're going to this party. You've never heard anything about him before in his island. We're going to this crazy party. We're going to fly. I'll fly you private. You don't have to pay anything. We're just going to go. It'll be for a weekend. We'll come back. We'll have a good time. You got a free weekend? Yeah. Fly out there. No idea what's going on until you get there. Now you're in the middle of it. Everybody has seen you there. What do you think happens from there? If you go speak on it, what do you think is going to happen to you? Well, they're going to pin some shit on you. They're going to be like, we got pictures of you. We got witnesses. You were there. So you can either shut the fuck up and deal with it and roll with the punches like we all did, or we're going to uncover this on you and you're fucked. Peace out, buddy. Your career is over. You're going to be broke the rest of your life. Corruption is everywhere, man. Especially at the top. It sucks. This is human nature. You've seen it throughout history if you've ever studied it. This is what happens. Everywhere. In every empire, this is what happens. Nobody talks about the horrible shit that went on at school. Like, that's not what I meant to say. When you're in school, nobody talks about the horrible shit that went on in history. I was just in a comment section recently. I find myself in the YouTube comments a lot now. I used to never comment on anything. Now I comment on a lot. I'm not proud of it, but I try to bring up things that the comment sections are just blinded by. And I know I'm not a victim, but I'm baiting the bots at that point. I'm just feeding into the bots that are on there. Anyways, somebody commented about Game of Thrones and they were pissed off. Everybody in the comments was pissed off about the ending of Game of Thrones, as was I, but they were pissed because at the end, they've accounted the entire text of A Song of Ice and Fire, right? They've accounted the entire text. And nowhere in that text do they mention Tyrion. Perhaps one of the most important characters in the entire series, the dwarf. He is nowhere to be mentioned in there. And they don't know if Sam's joking about it or if he's serious, but it seems pretty serious. Like, they didn't account for you and, you're not mentioned. How could you possibly leave out somebody so important? They're all pissed off. This doesn't even make sense. It doesn't have to. This is what people don't understand. We rewrite history the way we want it to be seen. Right now, the present day, which will be history, is being written for you right now, and it is not accurate to what is happening. Because we don't get to write the books, they do. And so if they don't want somebody mentioned, they will write them out. They will. And you think, how could they go through and do all that? How could they? What are you fucking talking about, man? Like, it's not hard. They just don't mention them. They mention somebody else. They say, oh, this person wasn't important. They could mention them and kill them off, and you would never know. What I'm getting back to is we go to school. We don't learn half the shit that happened in history. Nobody tells you that Christopher Columbus was a scumbag, that he was massacring people and committing all kinds of horrible, corrupt things that I won't mention. Nobody mentions that about, what happened with MLK, the type of shit he had going on in his personal life, how many women he was with. Nobody mentions that shit, do they? No. You don't get to learn that stuff at school. And then guess what? It surfaces somewhere else later on. If somebody who actually studied went back and talked to people and read this and read that and heard stories and blah, 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 and anecdotes. But that's the reality is those things that get passed on, it made perfect sense to me at the end with the text being that way, because all they have to do is write somebody out of history. And then the only truths that get passed around from that point forward are the witnesses, the people that were actually there. They're the ones that saw this actually happen. They knew that he was a part of this. And those get passed to their kids. And then guess what? It's like a game of telephone. And as the years go by, that story will change and eventually be forgotten. And all you will have 200 years later is the book. Nobody will know what have happened. Sweating like crazy. No one will know what have happened in the past. It'll all be about what's in that. They'll be like, we don't know what happened. Let's read the book. And there will be no mention of this guy. And that'll be it, because all they'll know is what's in the book. The stories have gone. The ancestors are gone. History has literally been rewritten. They've written that dude out of history. It made perfect sense. So if you were mad about that at the end of Game of Thrones, think it. Think it fucking through. You live in this world. I could spend days going through the parallels of the real world to movies that I watch. Like, nobody sees the crazy parallels from Marvel. It's unbelievable to me that nobody ever talks about. Like, everybody talked about the fucking feminist bullshit that was going on with Marvel and some of their most recent movies and all these female heroes and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, like, those movies, most of them I didn't even watch because I heard they weren't worth watching, and honestly, I wasn't interested in watching them. But all the way up until Endgame, I was pretty interested in watching a lot of the Marvel movies. And I watched them all through, and my God, there are so many parallels to the real world that just get covered up by the very entertaining superhero powers and all that shit that people see on screen, because that's how dull people are. I mean, I don't want to call them dumb, but they're dull. They watch these movies and they go, wow, it's so beautiful, and wow, the heroes, and oh my gosh, they beat the bad guy, and nobody looks at like the storyline that's there, the level of corruption that aligns with what is going on. I swear to God, it's like they say comedians are some of the most intelligent people on the planet, and like they throw so much shade in their jokes that gets missed because the joke ends up funny at the end. But there's so many little things that they add in. Amazing music artists have done it over time as well. Eminem being one of them. If you heard anything, it's all connected. Diddy, all this shit comes full circle when you step back and you look at it all together. The corruption is everywhere. And it's why sometimes I think that artists, whether it's music or art or like painting or through like movies and film, or what was the other one I just mentioned that fucking music, you get what I'm saying? Comedians, their art is being able to slip all of these little things in that not everybody will notice. And if you're somebody who just watches Marvel and goes, oh, it was so entertaining, and or I hated it, it was boring, and you don't, it's enough to tell me that you're a surface, like level 1 thinker. Like, you don't think about anything else other than am I entertained or not. And I don't blame people for that anymore today, because it's what society has become. We're all used to the scrolling videos, and our attention spans are short. Most people won't even get through this video because it's 20 minutes long. Most people didn't get through the first 30 seconds to know what this video is even about, you know? Like, it's sad. And it's depicted through everything. I mean, social media is the dead giveaway. You know, you could get your first video ever posted could go viral with 10 billion views, and you might have 500 followers from a 10 million viewed video, because nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares enough to follow you. Nobody cares enough to see your advice, like listen to what you have to say. They don't give a fuck. It's disgusting, but that's the world we live in. And it was built on corruption. It's human nature. The only thing you can blame at the end of the day is human nature. You can't blame individuals. It's within all of us. We all have it. It's will you act or not? Will you get to the point where the rules no longer apply and you give in to your instincts? These are, make no mistake, this shit is instinctual. This is all instinctual. Throughout human history, we never had things like marriage. We were primates, up and coming primates. We ate what was available to us. It was survival. And we mated to keep the species alive with whoever the fuck we could. And it was usually the alpha, whoever was in charge and had all the power. Back then, it wasn't money. It was power, control, leadership, as it is now. Nothing has changed. There's just the intervention of money. Now you could pay for your problems to go away. And the only way that it ever happened back then, I want you to just imagine a small group of people. The leadership is corrupt. You know, this is another situation. Walking Dead is another great one with Negan. He held all the power. He had all the cards. People were afraid of him. It was fear that kept him in power. What did it take to overthrow that? A revolution from within. That's what it's going to take if you want to see anything change. If you're not ready for that, and most people aren't, they're too afraid, it won't happen. And nobody wants to see what that looks like today, because it'll be ugly. We're the most powerful we have ever been in terms of weaponry, technology. It will be ugly. It will be devastatingly ugly, and the aftermath will be worse than it is now, probably. Just look at human history, study it. It's not rocket science. Most of us learned it. Like, I feel like this is also why they teach history so early, is because most of us don't care and don't remember it. It's not important to us back then. And they can just spoon feed us whatever they want us to hear. Like I said, they left out everything about Christopher Columbus being a piece of shit. They left out everything about MLK being a piece of shit. And I'm not using those two examples for any which reason. It's just those are the ones that got unearthed at points in my life, and I remembered when they came. The MLK stuff was pretty recent. That he had, like, who knows how many wives on the side. You need to understand, this is built into us as humans. That corruption is within us. And I'm not religious. I'm not. I've never been. It was forced on me as a kid sometimes to go to church and stuff, and I hated that, because when it's forced on you, you don't want to do it, you know? My parents taught me pretty decent morals. You know, I'm not perfect. I've definitely made immoral mistakes before. Nothing heinous, nothing horrible or heinous like these people have done with the island. But those people are all around you, man. It's just a matter of, will they unearth this horrible nature inside them and act on it? Most people won't, because they're in the middle or at the bottom where the rules apply. And if they get caught, they are fucked. It's why every time you see these people who go and meet these kids at Target and get caught, they immediately break down. They know their life is over, because there's no one they can call. They're not at the top. They can't just make a phone call and get out of it. These people can. Think about it. If people at the bottom will take that chance, what do you think the people at the top will do? When they have all the power in the world, they just snap their fingers and everything bends to their will. It should not be a surprise. It should not be a surprise. It should be so fucking obvious that this bullshit takes place. It takes place everywhere, too. It's not just here. Make no mistake, it takes place everywhere. This is in our nature as humans. So if you want to blame something, blame that. We were not all born perfect. There will always be temptation. I mean, we all experience it, whether you want to deny it or not. Every person has had temptation in their life for in some which way. It's very the number of people you know people in your own life who have fallen to the temptation. Think about how many married people you know that are divorced because they cheated, or lost their boyfriend or girlfriend because they cheated, because they did something here or there that was against what. Granted, we created marriage. Like I said, like human history was not like this. It was the strongest mated with everybody, and then the kids were then taken care of by the mothers and the beta males. That's what happened throughout history. We are not one of those few species on the planet that mates for life. There are some species that do that. I think flamingos are one of them, or swans. Swans are one of them. But there are not many species that do that, and we are not one of them. That was a construct that we created. And it's why you have so many people cheat today, because they just act on the urges. And think about like how stressed people are today. They get into a argument, or especially with all the extra underlying social factors that happen in the world today. Most people don't have a lot of money, which is already a stress factor. Most people are going to be unhealthy, overweight. The more unhealthy and overweight you are, the less attractive you are. And so there's always going to be somebody out there who's more attractive. Even if you are somewhat healthy and fit, you will always come across somebody out there who is more attractive than you. Like, I'm an ugly ass dude. I'm in shape, but I'm ugly. And so there will always be a guy who is just as fit as me, if not less, but has a more attractive face. And that temptation will always be out there for the significant other. Like, you cannot just deny your instinct. These are your instincts. You cannot deny them. I see other attractive women all the time. I'm not going to sit here and lie to myself or to her. The question is, do you act on that or not? You have the power within you to do so. Unfortunately, most people just act. The stress gets to them. Oh, my relationship's been bad. This happened. We're broke. That person has more money. And you see this plenty of times with people around you as well, where they'll end up with somebody. People change. This is another thing. People change, man. You might get into a relationship, two very fit people, right? Two very fit people. You've shown that like you care about each other, but you also want to get better individually. You care about your own individual interests as well. Something happens in your life and one person goes off the rails. They get fat, whatever it is. Does the other person, like you're married at this point, right? Let's say you're married. After marriage, this one person puts on 100 pounds. That's an extreme, but it's not unlikely today. Maybe they deal with some horrible traumatic thing that happens in their life. Yeah, you made vows to be together, to help each other through this shit, but sometimes people actually can't be helped. This is what you need to understand as well. It's what I realize is like I sit here and I try to make these videos to inform people and bring up things that I think are important, and I try to, in a way, project this stuff to other people in my own life and make them aware of stuff. And if they're not ready to listen and learn and change, then there's nothing that you can say that will help them. You can give them the information, maybe one day it clicks and they decide to change, but they have to make the decision. So I remember having this conversation with somebody a long time ago, which was like, if you love this person, why don't you just get married? Like, you're in love, get married. And I was like, is it that easy for you to think that way? Because like I've been in a relationship for 7 years. We're not married yet. And people think that that's crazy. They're like, you've been together 7 years, just call it a marriage. Like, get married and call it. It's like, I don't even know who I am yet. I'm not ready to be a husband or a father, which is the next step after marriage. If I'm not even ready to be a husband, I can't even think about father. And you're going to be like, oh, well, you guys are in love. This should be a no-brainer. Get married. I remember having this conversation with this person a long time ago, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, do you know, it was what sparked it in me, and I was like, people are this sure. Like, what if something horrible happens? Like, what if there's a death in the family, and that person goes off the rails? Or what if they have some traumatic experience they can't get out of their head, and they become an alcoholic? And then you're going to sit there and say, well, you love them, and so You have to stand by them all the way through your vows until the end of time. Do you understand how fucking stupid that sounds? You enter a relationship with guidelines and boundaries and this and that, and you make them clear. You get married, you're now bound. One person decides they're not going to stick by what they said they were going to do, but now you're expected to stick by everything you said you were going to do. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And what's sad about it is if, like, you're a guy, sorry to say it, but this is the truth. I've met multiple men who have been fucked over in their marriages. And granted, there's always two sides, and then there's the truth. But I have watched, I watched a guy in front of me cry, and he was not drunk because he was with his wife for 20 years, and he had kids and a house and retirement, and he loved his wife, and she just decided she was done. That doesn't make him innocent, but he got blindsided, essentially. And when you get blindsided, it tells me there's a lack of communication on both ends. So like I said, now both are innocent, but he got blindsided, lost his house, lost all three of his kids. Don't ask me how this made sense. Not only when I say he lost his kids, he still had custody. Like he had the kids, like living with him. He was still paying alimony to her. And I think some sort of child support, which was small, but he lost 50% of his 401k. He lost like everything. And now his kids don't talk to him because whatever mom's side was, like, they believed it and they don't speak to him. He barely gets to see his only son. I think one of his daughters still talks to him. This man's whole life was destroyed. Off a blind side. Like I said, don't have the other side of the story, but this is the point the world is full of corruption. It's not fair ever. And it never will be. It will never be fair. So to think that any sort of bad things are going to result from these files, like people are going to go to jail and shit, at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. The world is built on corruption. Everything around you is corrupt. The school systems are corrupt. Right? The markets are corrupt. Your own household is corrupt in some which way. And we're all getting fucked together. It's great. Anyways, really depressing way to start off my Monday. I got to get to work. But I hope someone watched it through. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Happy Monday. Take care. If your life sucks, I hope it gets better. Fuck, man. That was a long video. 33 minutes. If you made it to the end, you're a trooper. Appreciate you. All right. See you in the next one. Peace.